The galaxy was at war. Alien fleets had swept across the stars, conquering planet after planet with terrifying efficiency. Humanity's last stronghold, a small group of colonies on the edge of known space, was on the verge of collapse. No one believed that Earth or its people could survive the invasion. The alien forces had become unstoppable, and the fate of mankind seemed sealed. But then something changed. The first signs of hope came from an unexpected source. A massive, mysterious warship appeared in the shadows of the galaxy, moving silently toward the battlefield. It wasn't like anything the aliens had ever seen. It was massive, more powerful than any human vessel ever built. This ship was called the Hammer, and it was humanity's final chance. The alien commanders could not ignore it. Their sensors registered the ship's approach with growing unease. No transmissions, no signs of life, just the dark silhouette of the warship cutting through the vastness of space. As it came closer, they felt an unusual tremor, a disturbance in the quiet of the war zone. The Hammer had arrived. The human warship was not just another ship in the fleet. It was a weapon of unimaginable power, one that had been hidden away for decades, kept secret from the aliens who thought they had already won. Its crew, a mix of battle-hardened soldiers and brilliant engineers, had been prepared for this moment. They knew that humanity's survival depended on this ship, on what it could do. Inside the Hammer, Commander Alana Voss stood at the helm. She had led countless battles, but nothing had prepared her for this. Her hands gripped the controls with a steady determination, but deep down, she knew what was at stake. Every decision she made now would decide the fate of the human race. "We're almost there," her first officer, Lieutenant Raj, said from behind her. His voice was calm, but his eyes showed the tension of the moment. "All systems are online," Alana replied, her voice firm but quiet. "Prepare for battle." The bridge of the Hammer hummed with energy as the ship powered up its weapons. The crew moved swiftly, preparing the weapon systems, targeting the alien ships that were still engaged in battle with humanity's remaining forces. The alien commanders had no idea what was coming. As the ship entered the battlefield, a wave of panic spread across the enemy lines. The aliens had never seen anything like this before. The size of the Hammer alone was enough to shake their confidence. It was as though a storm had appeared out of nowhere, crashing down upon them. "Open fire!" Alana ordered, her voice cutting through the tense silence. She didn't hesitate. The fate of humanity was in her hands. The ship's weapons fired with deadly precision, sending waves of energy crashing into the alien fleet. The first alien ship was obliterated in a single blast. The second ship was struck so hard that it was thrown off course, spiraling into a nearby moon. The third ship barely had time to react before it, too, was reduced to rubble. The alien forces were in chaos. They had never faced a weapon like this. Their ships scattered, trying to avoid the onslaught. But the Hammer was faster, more powerful, and relentless. Each shot was calculated, each move carefully planned. The crew knew exactly what they were doing, and their unity was undeniable. "We've taken out their front line," Raj reported. "But they're regrouping. More ships are incoming." Alana nodded, her face set in determination. "We won't stop until the last one is gone." As the battle continued, the aliens began to realize they were not fighting just another warship. The Hammer was something different, something beyond their understanding. Its power seemed limitless, its crew unshakable. The aliens had underestimated humanity. But even as they struggled to regroup, the humans knew this was only the beginning. The alien fleet had more tricks up its sleeve. The next wave would be stronger, faster, and more aggressive. The crew of the Hammer was prepared for that, but the real test would come when they faced the alien warlord, Zarek, the leader of the invasion. He was known for his ruthlessness, and he had sworn to wipe out humanity no matter the cost. Alana's mind raced as the next wave of enemy ships approached. She couldn't allow the aliens to regroup and form a second attack. They had to strike fast, while they still had the advantage. "Prepare the second wave of weapons," she ordered, her voice steady. "We hit them before they can regroup." The crew moved quickly, setting up the secondary weapon systems. The aliens were still trying to make sense of what was happening. They had never expected a human ship to show such strength, such aggression. But they were about to learn the true meaning of a human fight. Suddenly, the communications system crackled to life. The voice that came through was cold, harsh, and unmistakable. "You have made a grave mistake, Commander Voss. You will pay for this insolence." It was Exaric. Alana's heart skipped a beat. The time for subtlety was over. It was time to finish this. "Show them what humanity can do," she said to her crew. With a single command, the hammer unleashed its final strike. The ship's core thrummed with energy as the weapon systems fired a concentrated blast that tore through the alien fleet like a hot knife through butter. Zarik's flagship was at the center of the attack, and with a deafening explosion, it was reduced to nothing more than space debris. The remaining alien ships scattered, unable to recover from the devastating assault. The battle was won, but Elena knew this victory was just the beginning. The hammer had proven humanity's strength, but there was still a long road ahead. The war was far from over. As the dust settled, Elena stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. The battle had been fierce, but humanity had shown that it was not to be underestimated. The hammer had struck fear into the hearts of the invaders, and they would remember this day. Humanity had fought back. And now, the galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy had turned against Earth. The once proud human colonies scattered across distant stars were now in ruins, victims of a relentless alien invasion. Cities were burned to the ground, fleets of human ships destroyed, and the alien forces grew stronger with each passing day. The invaders were everywhere, their ships blocking out the stars, their armies marching across every human settlement. It seemed like nothing could stop them. But deep in the heart of the human resistance, a secret weapon had been hidden away for decades. The last hope of humanity, a warship called the Last Stand, had been designed to turn the tide. It was powerful, advanced beyond anything the aliens had ever seen. But it had been kept in the shadows, its power hidden from the invaders. Now it was time for that weapon to make its presence known. Commander Alex Carter stood on the bridge of the Last Stand, looking out into the vastness of space. The tension was thick in the air. The ship's massive engines hummed with power, and every crew member moved with quiet precision. They had only one mission: to reclaim Earth and crush the alien invaders. "We're ready," Lieutenant Jenna said, her voice steady but her eyes betraying the weight of the moment. "The fleet is in position. We're the last hope for Earth." Alex nodded, his face set in determination. This is it. No turning back now. The crew had trained for years, preparing for this day. They knew the stakes. Earth had been all but destroyed, and the aliens had claimed victory. But the humans weren't ready to give up. Not yet. The bridge shook as the Last Stand powered up its weapon systems. The sound of charging energy filled the room, and the tension grew. The alien fleet was approaching. Their ships, massive and intimidating, loomed like shadows on the edge of the galaxy. The humans had to strike first, before the aliens could mount an attack. "All systems are green," reported Chief Engineer Turner. "We're ready to engage." Alex took a deep breath, his fingers hovering over the command controls. "Open fire." "We take the fight to them." The ship's weapons fired with precision, sending waves of energy crashing into the approaching alien fleet. The first shots hit their targets, and explosions rocked the alien ships. The battle had begun. But the aliens weren't going down easily. They quickly regrouped and retaliated, their ships firing back with deadly force. The battlefield became a chaotic swirl of flashing lights and explosions as human and alien ships clashed in the emptiness of space. Alex's heart raced as he watched the battle unfold. The human fleet was outnumbered, and the alien ships were far more advanced. But they had something the aliens didn't: human ingenuity and determination. The aliens had underestimated Earth. They thought the humans were weak, that they had already lost. But now, they would learn that humanity would never surrender. Direct hit to their flagship, Jenna called out. "We've got them on the ropes." Alex nodded, but he knew better than to get too confident. The aliens had many tricks up their sleeves. The fight wasn't over. Not by a long shot. "Keep pressing forward," Alex ordered. "We can't let them regroup." Hit them with everything we've got. The crew followed orders without hesitation. Each shot fired from the last stand was more powerful than the last. The ship's weapons tore through the alien fleet, leaving destruction in their wake. One by one, the enemy ships were torn apart, their crews scrambling to escape. But just as the humans thought they were gaining the upper hand, a new wave of alien ships appeared from behind a nearby asteroid field. These ships were different, faster, more agile, and equipped with technology far beyond anything the humans had encountered. "Brace for impact," Alex shouted as the ship was rocked by incoming fire. The crew scrambled to keep the ship on course, but the alien ships were relentless. The humans fought back with everything they had, but the new alien fleet was proving to be a dangerous challenge. "We can't take much more of this," Lieutenant Jenna said, her voice filled with panic. "We can't stop now," Alex said, his voice cold and steady. "We have one chance. If we don't win here, Earth is lost forever." The battle was at a breaking point. The last stand was badly damaged, and the crew was exhausted. But Alex knew they couldn't afford to fail. They had to finish this. He quickly glanced at the tactical display. The alien flagship, a massive ship brimming with power, was moving into position for a final attack. It was the heart of the alien fleet, and if it fell, the rest of the invaders would crumble. "Target their flagship," Alex ordered. "We destroy it. We win this fight." The crew worked quickly, locking the ship's most powerful weapons onto the alien flagship. They fired everything they had, and a massive explosion lit up the battlefield. The alien flagship was obliterated in a single blow. The remaining alien ships faltered. Without their flagship to lead them, they were lost. The humans pressed their advantage, launching a final, decisive attack. One by one, the alien ships fell, their once impressive forces shattered by the human will to survive. As the last of the enemy ships were destroyed, the crew of the last stand let out a collective sigh of relief. The battle was won, but the cost had been high. The ship was damaged, and many crew members had been injured. But Earth had been saved. For now. "We did it," Jenna whispered, her voice filled with awe. Alex stood silently, staring out into the stars. Earth was still there. Humanity had survived. But the war was far from over. The aliens had been defeated, but they would return. And when they did, humanity would be ready. "We won't stop fighting," Alex said quietly. "This is just the beginning." And so, the human resistance continued. The last stand had held, but the fight for Earth would never truly end. Humanity had learned a valuable lesson that day. No matter how many times they were knocked down, they would always rise again. The galaxy had been at war for years. Alien forces had swept across the stars, conquering everything in their path. Human colonies were among the first to fall, overwhelmed by the sheer size and power of the invaders. Most of Earth's cities had been reduced to rubble, and the few remaining human survivors were scattered across distant planets, hiding in fear. But in the darkness of space, a new hope was rising. It wasn't a fleet of ships or a powerful army, but something much quieter. A single human warship, named the Rebellion, had emerged from the depths of space. It was unlike any other vessel in the galaxy. Sleek, silent, and fast, it could slip past enemy ships undetected. It wasn't just a ship, it was a symbol. A symbol that humanity was not done fighting. No one knew who was behind the ship. Some said it was a rogue commander. Others whispered about a secret human project, hidden away from the aliens for years. Whatever the truth, the rebellion had arrived, and it was making its presence known. Commander Elena Ward stood on the bridge of the warship, her eyes focused on the vastness of space. Her face was calm, but her mind raced. This mission was everything. If they failed, humanity would be lost forever. If they succeeded, it would be a spark that could ignite a galaxy-wide uprising. "We've entered enemy territory," Lieutenant Marcos said, his voice steady but filled with tension. "We're in position." Elena nodded, her hands moving over the controls with practiced precision. "Prepare to disable their communications. We don't want them sending any word back to their fleet." The crew worked in silence, every action coordinated with perfect timing. The rebellion was not just a weapon of war, it was a ghost. They were fighting an enemy that had control over everything: ships, planets, and people, but the rebellion would strike from the shadows. Communications are down, Marco reported. They won't be able to call for reinforcements. Good. Now we move, Elena said, her voice like steel. She didn't hesitate. Humanity had waited too long to take this step. The ship moved silently through the enemy's defenses, undetected by the alien patrols. The rebellion's sleek design allowed it to blend in with the darkness of space, hiding in plain sight. No one suspected that this small, silent ship was the first blow in the war to reclaim the galaxy. As they approached the enemy's stronghold, Elena's mind raced. The aliens had been ruthless, and they had wiped out entire fleets of humans without hesitation. But the rebellion wasn't here to negotiate. They were here to fight. "We've got visual on their flagship," Marco said, his voice low. "It's massive." "Target their weapons systems," Elena ordered. "We'll cripple them from the inside." The crew moved quickly, preparing the ship's advanced weapons for the strike. Elena knew that taking down the flagship was just the beginning. The aliens would retaliate, and they needed to be ready. But for now, they had one chance to strike hard. "Firing," Marco announced. The ship's weapons lit up the dark void of space, sending a wave of energy toward the alien flagship. The blast hit its target, sending shockwaves through the enemy ship. The aliens didn't expect it. Their flagship, once invincible, was now crippled, its power systems faltering. "We've got them," Elena said, a rare smile crossing her face. But it was short-lived. The alien forces quickly began to react, and Elena knew this was only the beginning. The real battle was just starting. The rebellion slipped away into the shadows of space. Elena's mind raced. The flagship had been taken down, but the alien forces were vast. They wouldn't give up without a fight. But the rebellion wasn't meant for direct confrontation. It was designed for disruption, for sowing chaos in the enemy's ranks. "We need to get out of here before they can send reinforcements," Elena said. "Set a course for the next target." The ship's engines hummed as it powered up, ready to slip away into the darkness. But just as they prepared to leave, a massive alien fleet dropped out of warp directly in their path. Elena's heart skipped a beat. The aliens had tracked them. "Brace for impact," she shouted, and the crew moved quickly to prepare for the incoming attack. The alien ships were closing in fast, their weapons powered up and ready to fire. But the rebellion wasn't just any ship. It was designed for this exact moment. The crew engaged the ship's cloaking systems, vanishing into the void of space. For a few tense moments, the battle paused. The alien ships scanned the empty space, searching for any sign of the human warship. But the rebellion was gone, silent and invisible. Elena's hands moved quickly over the controls, guiding the ship through the shadows, staying just out of reach of the alien forces. "We're clear," Marco said, his voice filled with relief. "They've lost us." "Not yet," Elena replied. "They'll keep searching. We have to keep moving." For hours, the rebellion stayed hidden, slipping from one dark corner of the galaxy to the next, always staying one step ahead of the alien forces. Elena knew that the longer they survived, the more they could disrupt the enemy's plans. But it wasn't enough to stay hidden. The galaxy needed to know that humanity wasn't done. They needed to fight back. And that's when the plan came together. "We've got a fleet of enemy supply ships ahead," Marco reported. "If we take them down, they'll lose everything they've been building here." Elena nodded. "It's time." With precision and speed, the rebellion attacked the alien supply ships, hitting them hard and fast. The explosions lit up the dark void of space as the ships were destroyed, their cargo and supplies drifting into the emptiness. The alien forces had lost everything. The humans had struck again, and this time they left a mark the aliens could not ignore. But even as the victory sank in, Elena knew it wasn't over. The aliens would come after them harder than ever. But the rebellion had sent a message. Humanity wasn't done yet. They would fight, and they would win. The crew gathered on the bridge, staring out into the stars. There was no grand celebration, just the quiet, knowing silence of a rebellion that was still in its earliest stages. The war had just begun. The galaxy was at war. Alien invaders, fierce and merciless, had ravaged human colonies. Scattered across the stars, Earth, once the center of human civilization, had fallen into chaos. The alien fleet, a vast and terrifying force, had crushed humanity's defenses with overwhelming power. But there was something the aliens didn't know, a weapon hidden deep within the heart of the Earth, something they could never have anticipated. Commander James Riley stood alone in the darkened control room of a secret military base, far below the surface of the Earth. The base, known only to a select few, was humanity's last chance. Inside it was a weapon unlike any other, a weapon that could change the course of the war. It was hidden from the alien invaders, protected by layers of secrecy and powerful security measures. Riley knew that the fate of the human race rested on the success of the mission ahead. He looked around the room at his team, each of them hand-picked for this moment. They were the best of the best engineers, scientists, soldiers, each one determined to reclaim their home. Their mission: activate the hidden weapon and use it to strike back at the alien forces. "Is the weapon ready?" Commander Riley asked, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "Yes, sir," replied Dr. Anna Wells, the lead scientist. She was calm, but her eyes showed the strain of years spent developing the secret weapon. "It's powered up and ready for deployment." Riley nodded, his fingers tapping nervously against the control panel. "Let's make sure this works. We don't have a second chance." The weapon was a piece of technology the aliens had never encountered, a fusion of human ingenuity and alien technology stolen during earlier encounters. It had the potential to cripple the entire alien fleet if they could unleash it at the right moment. But no one knew if it would work. The weapon's power was so immense that it could either bring victory or destroy everything in its path. Dr. Wells typed in a series of commands, and the massive steel doors of the control room slid open. Outside, in the heart of the base, the weapon stood, its enormous form stretching into the sky. It was hidden in a cavernous chamber, well shielded from the eyes of the enemy. Its core glowed faintly, pulsing with energy that seemed to hum with potential. "Commander," said Lieutenant Sarah Klein, a sharpshooter who had seen the worst of the war, "are we sure we can trust this thing? We don't know what kind of damage it could cause." "We don't have a choice," Riley replied, his voice filled with determination. "It's humanity's last hope. We either use it or we lose everything." The team moved quickly, preparing the weapon for activation. It was time. The alien fleet was only hours away, and this was their only opportunity to strike first. Riley had faith that the weapon would work, but the uncertainty of the unknown hung heavy in the air. The fate of the entire human race rested on their shoulders. Dr. Wells pressed a button, and the weapon began to hum louder. The ground trembled as the energy core powered up. Riley could feel the vibrations under his boots, a reminder of how powerful this weapon was. The ship that carried it wasn't like any other in the galaxy. It was a small, fast vessel capable of delivering the weapon directly into the heart of the alien fleet. Once unleashed, its destructive power would disrupt their command systems, leaving the enemy fleet vulnerable. "We're ready to deploy," Riley said, his eyes locked on the screen before him. He knew that once the weapon was launched, there would be no turning back. "Initiate launch sequence." The countdown began. The weapon's massive energy wave would be their surprise, striking the alien fleet before they could react. The aliens had grown complacent, believing that Earth had no power left to fight back. But they had underestimated humanity's resilience. The aliens would soon find out that they were wrong. 10 seconds, Dr. Wells said, her voice steady despite the tension. "Weapon is locked on target." Riley didn't blink. He had made the decision to risk everything on this single strike. It was either this or Earth would fall into the hands of the invaders forever. 5 seconds, Lieutenant Klein said, her hand poised over the launch button. "Do it," Riley ordered. The room seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a burst of light, the weapon was launched. It rocketed through the atmosphere, tearing through the sky with incredible speed. The alien fleet, unaware of the attack until it was too late, began to scramble. But it was too late. The weapon struck the alien command ship, releasing a pulse of energy so powerful that it shattered the ship's systems. The pulse spread, hitting all the ships in the fleet, disabling their weapons, shields, and communications. Direct hit, Dr. Wells reported, her eyes wide in disbelief. It's working. The fleet's power is down. The alien ships were now sitting targets, their once mighty fleet crippled in space. The humans had struck the first blow, but the aliens would not surrender easily. Riley knew that they had only moments before the enemy retaliated. All ships, launch now, Riley ordered. The human fleet, which had been waiting in the wings, launched into action. The alien ships were still reeling from the impact of the weapon. The humans had a small window of opportunity, and they had to take advantage of it. The battle in space was fierce, but humanity's hidden weapon had shifted the balance of power. The alien ships struggled to regain their systems, but it was too late. The human fleet, bolstered by the power of the weapon, tore through the alien forces, ship after ship falling in flames. On Earth, the skies were clear for the first time in years. The alien fleet had been shattered, and the tide of war was turning. Humanity had fought back, and they had a fighting chance again. But Riley knew this wasn't over. The aliens would regroup. They would retaliate. The weapon had won the first battle, but the war was far from finished. "We've won this round," Riley said, his voice low but filled with a sense of victory. "But there's still a long fight ahead. We'll need to stay one step ahead." Humanity's hidden weapon had worked, but it was only the beginning of the long road to reclaim Earth. The battle was far from over, but now there was hope. The galaxy had known peace for centuries, but peace had a price. The human race had always been a small, quiet species in the grand cosmos, scattered across distant planets, living under the shadow of more powerful civilizations. But that silence was shattered when the invasion began. The alien forces arrived suddenly, like a storm, burning through human colonies with ruthless efficiency. The first attack was swift. Entire cities were reduced to ashes. Earth's defenses crumbled under the sheer power of the alien fleet, leaving humanity's survivors in hiding, scattered across the stars. The war had begun, and it seemed there was no hope for the future of humanity. But deep in the heart of a forgotten military bunker on Earth, something was awakening. Captain Lena Hayes stood in the cold control room, her eyes fixed on the massive screens in front of her. The bunker, hidden underground and long thought abandoned, was now the last bastion of humanity's hope. It had been untouched for years, its secrets locked away by time and war. But now, its purpose was clear. Inside it lay the remnants of an old, forgotten weapon, a weapon that had been created in secret during humanity's early days of exploration. It was humanity's last chance to turn the tide of the war. "Is everything ready?" Lena's voice broke the silence. Her fingers trembled slightly as she adjusted the controls. She knew the stakes this weapon could be their salvation or their destruction. "It's ready, Captain," Sergeant Mark Wilson replied, his voice calm but with an edge of tension. He had been with Lena since the early days of the war, and like her, he had seen the destruction that the alien invaders had left in their wake. Lena nodded, her face set in grim determination. "Let's do it. We have no time to waste." They had no choice but to activate the weapon now. The aliens were closing in, and if they didn't strike back, humanity would be wiped out. The weapon was their only hope, but it was dangerous, unpredictable. No one knew exactly how it would work, or if it would even work at all. But Lena knew that the moment they activated it, there was no turning back. The weapon was an ancient technology, buried under layers of secrecy for a reason. It had been designed to strike at the very heart of the alien fleet, to disrupt their systems in a way that would cripple them. But it was a gamble. A powerful, unpredictable gamble. Lena stepped away from the console, her eyes narrowing as she looked at the team of engineers and scientists who had worked tirelessly to bring the weapon online. They all knew the risk, but they had also made their peace with it. The weapon was humanity's last echo of resistance. "Activate it," Lena ordered, her voice steady, though her heart raced. The screen flickered, and for a brief moment, everything seemed to go silent. Then, with a sudden flash, the weapon powered up. The room trembled as the energy coursed through the system, and a hum filled the air low, steady, but growing in intensity. "Coordinates set," Mark said. target locked on the alien fleet. Lena took a deep breath. The moment of truth had arrived. Fire! With a burst of light, the weapon unleashed its power. The beam shot up from the bunker, tearing through the sky, and then out into space, reaching the alien fleet. For a split second, there was nothing, just a moment of eerie stillness. Then, the alien ships began to shake, their systems malfunctioning. Explosions rippled through their ranks as the weapon's energy tore through their power grids and communication systems. The alien fleet, once so confident in its superiority, was now in chaos. "Direct hit," Mark shouted, his voice filled with awe. But Lena wasn't celebrating. She watched the screens, her mind racing. The aliens had been caught off guard, but the war wasn't over yet. The weapon had created an opening, but it was still unclear how long the disruption would last. The aliens would adapt. They always did. "We've bought ourselves some time," Lena said, her voice low but firm. "We need to act fast. Rally the survivors. We have to push them back while they're vulnerable." The crew worked quickly, activating the remaining defense systems and communicating with the human resistance forces spread across the galaxy. The message was clear: the aliens could be beaten. For the first time in years, humanity had a fighting chance. But the alien fleet wasn't done. Within hours, they had begun to regroup, sending out smaller, faster ships to hunt down humanity's remaining forces. They had learned from their mistakes, and they wouldn't be caught off guard again. Lena's team knew the aliens would retaliate, but they also knew that this was humanity's moment to strike back, to show the invaders that Earth wasn't going to fall quietly. They launched their attack, using everything they had: fighter ships, guerrilla tactics, anything that could hurt the alien forces. The battle was fierce. Human ships, small and agile, darted through the alien defenses, hitting hard and fast. Every victory was a small but crucial step. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for their future. But the aliens were relentless. Every time they lost a battle, they came back stronger, more determined to crush humanity. The war dragged on, each side suffering losses, but the humans had something the aliens didn't: hope. They had proven that they could strike back, and that spark of resistance fueled their every move. Then, one day, a massive alien mothership appeared in the skies over Earth. It was a direct assault, a final push to end the war. The aliens were bringing everything they had left. Lena knew this would be their greatest challenge yet. She called for a final rallying cry, bringing together every survivor, every fleet, every fighter they had. It would be a battle to the death, but this time, they had the element of surprise on their side. The echo of war was deafening. The skies were filled with ships, human and alien alike. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, but for the first time, it wasn't just about survival. It was about something more. "Push forward!" Lena shouted as her ship tore through the sky, the alien mothership looming ahead. "We fight for our future." The battle raged, and humanity's fight for freedom had never been more desperate. But one thing was certain: the aliens had underestimated the resilience of the human spirit. And as the final shot rang out, as the alien mothership exploded into a brilliant ball of fire, one thing was clear: Earth had fought back. The echo of war would be remembered for generations to come, not as a sound of defeat, but as the cry of victory.